Hi, this is Mr. H Makes. I'm Mr. H, and in this episode we're going to be looking how to get live facial motion capture from iClone into Unreal using LiveLink and a bunch of other plugins. I should also say this particular episode is more useful for projects that require live action avatars, and especially those that are taking advantage of Unreal Engine. For example, the technician in Code Miko uses Unreal for her environments and sets. It ideally requires a good GPU and computer. Mine is an i7 2060S GPU and 32 RAM, and I need every single bit of that to handle the multiple programs that are open at once, and especially if you're going to be streaming live. For me, this project was experimental. I just wanted to learn more about live avatars, and since it's currently a fairly new area for both iClone and Unreal, the integration is not exactly one button. Whether UE5 and future iClone versions address this is anyone's guess. There is definitely a fair amount of groundwork to do before you can get it all working. There will be a few links, as I've covered various plugins and add-ons before in my earlier videos, and I'll post those in the description and comments below, hopefully if I'm organized at the appropriate chapter markers. With that in mind, if you haven't yet, it would be a very good idea to watch my How to Animate Facial Expressions video. It covers how you can use your iPhone and iClone to capture live motion data, and it details some of the plugins required for this video. So, what are you going to need besides a decent rig? Well, you're going to need an iPhone for starters, iPhone X or above, or an iPad Pro, the Motion Live add-on, a live face profile, and 3D exchange pipeline. And yeah, these cost money. Yes, this LiveLink workflow requires you pay extra for it, but that's the cost of having an iClone Unreal live facial mocap production pipeline. You could in theory do much of this for free natively in Unreal, but then you are somewhat restricted to the characters you'd have access to. I mean, if you're good with metahumans, etc., then you're fine. But if you want stylized custom characters with blend shapes for facial movement, which is what CC3 excels at, then that's going to cost you too. So what you might save going down one route could actually cost you further down the road. To get the iClone Unreal connection going, you're also going to need the Character Creator and iClone Auto Setup plugin. This allows you to automatically import iClone characters into Unreal, their skeletal rigs, shaders, and a bunch of other stuff like creating blueprints that you can customize. And I cover where to get that plugin in my Unclone to Unreal FBX tips video. You of course have to install Unreal and yet another plugin, and that would be iClone LiveLink, which allows iClone and Unreal to transfer data between each other. You can download directly from the Unreal Marketplace, and it's free for indie studios. However, you must have installed the full version of iClone 7 and 3D Exchange pipeline to make this plugin work. Okay, we can finally get on with the LiveLink workflow, and you'll know whether you've installed stuff correctly because you'll see it in your drop-down menu here. So basically I'm just making sure that I'm connecting to my Motion Live, which is what iClone uses to connect to your iPhone, that's all working. And obviously you can tweak the strength of the various blend shapes and facial animation. But over in Unreal, we've got to activate the iClone live link. And if you don't see it on that top bar, it means that it hasn't been installed properly. But yeah, that will turn up in your world outliner, which shows you all the assets associated with that particular level. So I'm just organizing it a bit. And apparently this sequence of events is quite important, or at least it used to be. I'm not quite sure about now, but works for me. And back into iClone. Where we launch the Unreal Live link. And basically there's two tabs here, transfer and link, and you go to transfer first and select what you want to transfer. Obviously if you're selecting more stuff, it might be a bit heavier on the processing power or whatever. But in this case, I'm selecting the camera and the character, which I've actually synced its eyes to look at the camera in iClone. So you can transfer other things like lights and stuff like that. So right now what's happening is I am sending those files related to the character and the camera over to Unreal. Okay, now we're in Unreal and you can see that the camera and the character have come in under the iClone origin asset or node or whatever. So just moving the iClone origin around to the area that I wanted in this kind of virtual studio, and you can kind of begin to see the possibilities that may arise out of doing this workflow. This virtual production set. Of course, you can still all do it using the FBX method, where it's not live and everything is pre-planned, but this is if you need to do it live. Yeah, I was wondering why the camera didn't seem to come through properly, but that basically works itself out once you activate the live link and get iClone going. Once you start that, it syncs properly. Back in iClone and Unreal Live Link, we can go to the link tab and again select what we want to actually link. In this case, obviously, the base plus character. You can change the names and then activate the link. Back in Unreal, you launch the live link window from the toolbar, and you've got to add a source. In this case, iClone live link. Motion Live is driving the iClone iPhone link, and Live Link is connecting iClone to Unreal. It's a good idea to have your FPS to track that, to see, I mean, ideally we want to be in the green, stick above 60 FPS in both programs. And you'll see we're not doing too well in iClone, but there are ways to improve this. Perhaps the simplest method is to just go to your scene tab and make your character invisible. So our FPS has gone up. Still red though, but as long as it's above 60 and above. And we'll switch that on, and it should still work over in Unreal. So I'm just babbling. It's not tied to this voiceover I'm doing now. And obviously the shaders on this model haven't been fixed, so the quality is better. I believe those using this method with better GPUs and processors, etc., can achieve, you know, better results in terms of quality and speed. But I think you kind of see the potential, and once I upgrade, I will definitely play around with it a bit more. I think hair grooms might be a better way to go, especially for live. I think that the frame rate is lower than I'd like, but it's acceptable. Other methods that you can do, apart from making your character invisible, is to switch off the timeline, and you can do that by pressing F3 or just the X on the right of the timeline bar. Well, we're already at an optimal FPS anyway, but just so you know. If for some reason you'd like to record your performance, you would need to go to the tape recorder and select the various items, starting with the iClone origin. Apparently also this is important, the order you do it in, and you add these. You can do it that way, or select the item and then select from actor at the top. You can see add CC3 base plus, or go down the list and select it. And apparently, yeah, the order, the origin, the character, and then the cameras and the lights and the rest of the things you want to have control over in the tape recorder. There's probably other ways you can do it from, like there's a from live link option there on the drop down. I'm actually more familiar with the sequence recorder, which is the older one that's being phased out. So I'm not exactly an expert on tape recorder, but these are the basics that you can do. Explore it further. Should have this at 60 FPS because iClone outputs at 60 FPS. At least I believe that's the case. Then you can find the take, and there you have it. Now we're getting a duplicate because when you use take recorder, you create an extra asset. You see the one with a little lightning icon next to it. So you've actually got to switch off the original one. Now when you actually come to render it, it will show that double, because you actually need to go into the asset and turn it off individually via a checkbox. So, for example, here I'm looking for the checkbox. So you specifically check and make sure it doesn't render or it's hidden. So I usually make sure Add to Hidden in Game is turned off, but that's not the only one. Oh yeah, I turned off ray tracing. Because yeah, there we go. Because I got a bit lazy and didn't want to tweak the individual shaders to fix this guy. I mean, obviously you can spend a bit more time making the image a bit better and fix the lighting, but that's not the purpose of this video. I do have another video where I talk about in more detail how to tidy up the shaders and make them look good in Unreal. So yeah, I'm just quickly trying to fix up a bit of lighting here. And I'm using the legacy movie renderer, and there you can see those double images. Basically I didn't properly switch off one of the duplicates. And I'm just looking for what I missed the first time around somewhere here. We'll switch that off anyway. Okay, let's try that again. And there we go. Yeah, his hair is a little sucky. That's just an experiment I'm doing with hair. I'm trying to make in Blender. But it's just an example to show you how you can render out your live performances if that's what you want to do. And that is the old legacy method. The new movie render queue is much more powerful. Gives you a lot more options on how you can output your movie. So if you're coming new to this, I would focus more on that. And in itself, it's like a whole tutorial, and I'll link you to a guy I look to for tutorials on this who's very good, William Foucher. But I do find I still use the legacy method just to get a quick preview as to how things are going, and when I go to the final render I use the movie render queue. Alright, well, thanks very much for watching. I hope that you found some of this useful, and I'm Mr. H signing off. I look forward to seeing you in the next one, which hopefully will be a bit more fun and less technical.